Good morning to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack here. Monday now, the 15th of September, 2025. I appreciate you tuning in this fine start to our week. What do we got out there? Well, we got this soon-to-be Invest Area 92L, and that is about it. There's not much else happening, especially in the Atlantic Basin. Now, we do have Mario over in the Eastern Pacific, which was discontinued as a tropical cyclone briefly, and then it got a power up and a new life or whatever, and it's back. So we'll talk about that as well, because Mario, the leftovers of it, could impact California weather down the road a piece. So we'll take a look at all that. Not exactly what we thought we would be seeing in mid-September here with the Atlantic as warm as it is, but here we are. And again, that headline, we got this, but not much else. Let's get started. And we'll begin with the tracking map on the interactive site here. And this is important because look at the globe here. Now, it's a flat map, obviously. Hey, here you go. There's your flat Earth. It's a Mercator projection map of the most of the world, right? And there's nothing out there except Mario. Now, we do have our little area of interest sitting out here, which we will get to. But globally, the tropics are very, very quiet. And I've got the cameras turned on, our layer on here, because I want to show you the Outer Banks in just a few minutes, because we do have our coastal low sitting out here. We got that to talk about as well. So let's start real quick with Mario here in the East Pac. And you see it's forecast to move off to the northwest. It'll get over cooler waters and it'll die away. But some of that leftover moisture will get strung up into California. And you could get some thunderstorms, some of which could be dry thunderstorms, meaning not a lot of rain, but plenty of lightning strikes. And that could be problematic for our friends up here out in the Golden State. And so just keep an eye on that, all right? The rain could be helpful, but any of those drier, high-based thunderstorms with lightning, we could have some wildfire problems coming from that. Satellite perspective this early morning. I am up kind of early this morning, getting stuff going. Anyway, we got Mario out here in the East Pac. And again, that'll die away eventually over these cooler waters. Less favorable thermodynamic profile. And that'll pretty much be that. And off the coast of the Carolinas here, we'll look at this closer in just a moment. The Outer Banks of North Carolina, to be specific. We do have a coastal storm, a coastal low, whatever you want to call it. Non-tropical area, and it is producing some gale force winds and pretty heavy rain right along the Outer Banks. Kind of miserable out there. We'll take a close-up look at that in just a moment. No sign of the Central American gyre just yet, so we'll put a big X through here. Pretty good trades just coming through at the lower levels, and at the upper levels, probably some pretty strong wind. Sheer. So yeah, things are pretty calm, even here in mid-September. Sliding the animation off to the east a hair, maybe more than a hair. There is our area. This looks like it's finally going to bust through all the negative conditions that we are seeing as of late out in the tropical Atlantic. All the global models are seemingly on top of this. 80% chance of this developing according to the National Hurricane Center. And it looks like this will develop and then move on out somewhere in this vicinity without affecting land directly. Maybe Bermuda. We'll see about that. But look, even behind the system, more dust and dry air making its way off into the Atlantic. A very weird setup this year for sure. Not exactly the scene that we were expecting to see. But we'll take it, because we know things can certainly be a lot worse. We have been there and done that. Off the coast of North Carolina, there it is, a non-tropical area of low pressure, clearly a low-level circulation present. And if it wasn't for the very strong upper-level winds, I mean, you can see that just ripping across the system. This probably, if it had a better upper-level environment, this would probably wrap thunderstorms all around that center. It is over the Gulf Stream here. And this would make itself tropical in no time at all. Speaking of Bermuda, you guys have had it pretty wet over there. I've seen a couple of my friends over there talking about that in various places on the internet, and it just continues on, doesn't it? Your tanks are full. So we'll be watching what happens with soon-to-be 92L closely. Hopefully, it's going to come in and hook out something like that. I'll show you that in the modeling in just a minute. But in regards to this coastal storm, let me show you on the tracking map here slide it over and we can zoom into our cameras. Got a nice panel of them, all 4 of them sitting out on the Outer Banks permanently. Look at that, the Rodanthe Pier, the world-famous Rodanthe Pier, kind of wet and raw today. My good friend Brad out there, who lives very close to the pier there, said that the drum are biting, so it's good drum fishing. I'm hoping to go up there next month with a couple of my kids, and we can catch some good fish out there and enjoy the Outer Banks, but not today. It's kind of raw looking. Another perspective, kind of tilted. We'll get Brad to fix that for me, hopefully. And it's got that schmutz on there. That's my word. I made that up. Not really, but I use it for this. It's that salt, gunky crap that gets on any marine environment, anything at all, your vehicle, your boat, your house, whatever, your siding, and camera lenses. And that stuff is pretty nasty. And the rain occasionally washes it off, and we can see a little bit better. Here's the north view with a few raindrops hitting. Now, the good news here, one of the things I want to show you, notice we don't have any signs of overwash at all. And a big part of that is the overall fetch is just not quite there. We don't have this long fetch of crazy wind. The waves are not nearly as big as we saw with Aaron. And the lunar cycle is such, and the whole astronomical tide situation, that we're not going to have much overwash widespread. Areas like Buxton, where they're very vulnerable right now, maybe up at Pea Island. And if you know the area, you know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you? You might have some overwash there at times of high tide, but other than it just being kind of a raw Eeyore, from Winnie the Pooh kind of a day, that coastal storm, not too much of a problem, just a nuisance, if you will. All right, so out in the Atlantic, let me just show you some of the vorticity stuff. That's pretty good right there. And again, if it wasn't for the strong upper level winds, this would be well on its way to becoming a tropical storm since it's over the Gulf Stream. No doubt about it. But the upper level winds are putting the kibosh on that. There is Mario's signature of vorticity, way down at the 5,000 foot level. And this is associated with our soon-to-be 92L out over the tropical Atlantic. So what do the models show? The global models for now. We'll get the hurricane models and all the other stuff later once this is designated as an invest. Yeah, let's use the blue. That's a better color there. So here we go, 850 millibars. This is the 6Z run of the GFS. There's our coastal storm, non-tropical low. This is the large pocket of energy associated with soon-to-be 92L. And by the way, that is exactly why us measly little human beings here label things like that. 92L is a lot better than that area of energy out there. It's shorter, 92L, right? Part of the reason. Anyway, soon to be 92L, but you can see there's a pretty large amount of vorticity associated with it. A large amount of energy sitting out here. You can see the rotation already in the barbs, the wind flags, everything. This is on its way, and it should wrap up the overall humidity and moisture and all that good stuff. Yup, it's there. So this one probably won't pull a fast one on us like 91L did, and this should be well on its way to developing over time. So let's move the GFS out, and sure enough, there you go. Even at 24 hours, it should look markedly healthier on satellite, and off it goes into the Atlantic further there, further, whatever. And then it finally gets together in the subtropics, close to it anyway, and gets going, probably going to be a big ace producer. And this would be Gabrielle once it's named. And this might sneak in. This is way out at 228 hours, far out in time. But we'll see. Now, one thing I did want to show you, since we are out at hour 228, some signs of the Central American gyre or whatever in and around Central America, but that's pretty far out in time. Backing this up to a more reasonable time period at 168 hours, a little bit of a sign there. These westerly winds coming in here, southeasterly winds here, not quite what you would see looking for the CAG, the CAG, but we'll watch for that, because as we approach October, that area becomes much more favorable climatologically for development. And at a week's time, by the way, there is Bermuda. This would be Gabrielle. There's another little tropical wave here. So we might eke out a couple more storms and hurricanes before the end of the month, but nothing too threatening to land areas for sure. Euro, same kind of deal. This is the 0Z run last night. And boy, you can really see the reflection of our coastal storm going to plague the Outer Banks there. I don't want to downplay the rain and the nastiness of it. Yeah, you're going to get several inches of rain, but the onshore flow, look, just real quick about this. If this was sitting farther offshore and you could really bank those winds in over a long fetch, that would be different. But it's close enough that it'll keep the wind and waves to a minimum. It's just raw rather than being highly impactful, all right? Anyway, so you see our tropical system down there gets going very similar to what the GFS shows, so at least we have agreement. And there is Bermuda right there where I've got the crosshairs, and you can see our would-be Gabrielle hooks right, and this is about 2:04 hours, so there's still time for this to gain too much latitude and be a problem for Bermuda. 204 hours, that's a long time, so we got to watch and wait. But look, you can see some semblance here of a tropical wave train, maybe. But even on the Euro here, not much sign of any Central American gyre activity. So that is pretty good news overall. One more thing before I let you go on this nice Monday. There's our tropical wave over the Atlantic. There's some more energy there, a little bit more here. Maybe some more trying to gather in Eastern Africa. And one thing I've noticed in looking across especially on Twitter, there are different people that watch this stuff like I do. There seems to be a consensus that we're finally going to get, meteorologically speaking, not like, yeah, the hurricanes are coming, but meteorologically speaking, we're finally going to get rising motion over Africa as we get into late September into October, and that could give us a late season burst of so-called Cape Verde activity. Some of those tropical waves, if they don't develop, and this is where it's important, really, if they don't develop out in the eastern Atlantic, they do make their way west, and they can help to energize any kind of Central American gyre where there's already some convergence going on and overall instability. Sometimes one of these little rogue waves that comes through, maybe it doesn't develop in the East Atlantic, fires up west in the Caribbean, and we could have some problems. So we do have to watch and wait and see. We're not done yet, and I think we all know that. Just common sense would tell you. We are only here at mid-September, and there's still plenty of time for something pretty bad to happen. Hopefully it won't, but if it does, as I keep telling you, we just want to make sure we are ready, all right? So we got this, but not much else. Good way to end today's update for you, and that is that. So have a good rest of your Monday. As always, thanks for tuning in and giving me a tiny part of your day. I appreciate it very much, and as always, I hope you learned something, all right? From all of us at HurricaneTrack, good to have you again. I'm Mark Sudduth. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.